Hello, welcome to Live Your Own Way with me, Lucy Gleeson Interiors, chatting homes, life and inspiration with my very special guests. Looking forward to this chat with Dominic Chinea today. He's one of the core team on one of my favourite shows, the BBC1's Repair Shop, being their metal expert, lovingly restoring people's family heirlooms and beloved pieces. He's had a really interesting career path from working on car restoration to set design and prop making in his own studio on huge events and photo shoots. So I can't wait to find out more today about how he's achieved this all. Hi Dom, thanks for chatting to me today because I know you're foregoing your lunch break at the repair shop to talk to me.
Hi Lucy, yeah, no problem at all. Thank you for having me.
Oh no, I really appreciate it. And we'll talk about the show, but I just wanted to know briefly, how's it all going with, different regulations happening at the moment?
You know what? We've been back now for 2.5 weeks, and the production team have put in quite strict procedures, and we're even shooting things slightly differently, different angles to allow for the 2 meter distance, and they've done such a good job. We barely even notice. It's quite strange. Obviously we're aware, but it's working seamlessly. So it's all really, really good news.
Yeah, absolutely. But well, listen, you have done so much with your career so far, and I know that you initially trained in graphic design and fine art. So what was your initial plan when you were studying?
I wish I had a plan. I think I genuinely didn't. I was really crap at school. I really was I'm not very good at academic maths and science and things like that, despite both my brothers being geniuses in both of those. They're both very, very academic and clever. I was kind of my middle child, and I was kind of the odd one out. I sort of was more into art, music, art, stuff like that. And I just did what I could and what I enjoyed, really. That was through school, A-levels, and then that kind of led me on to BND graphic design because I just enjoyed layout, typography, things like that. And I think I'm very fortunate that my whole career really has been just me muddling through, just doing what I enjoy doing, just being led by my heart, I guess, of kind of, I'm passionate about that. I love to do that. I want to do that, and somehow making it work as a job.
Well, you're doing very well at it. So what was the first thing what was the first thing you did when you left college?
When I was after my degree, during my degree, I was working sort of part-time at a classic car restoration place doing old Volkswagen, air-cooled Volkswagens and Porsches. It was like the boy in the workshop, then we'd restore them, and there was parts shops. So I was sort of working there whilst at uni, and then when there was sort of became more full-time there. But then obviously wanted to get in after doing the graphic design degree. I wanted the creative kind of, I just wanted to do something in that field. So I guess it was very photography led. My degree, it was graphic design. It was very visual, very, sort of photography and printmaking, things like that. So I tried to get in with photographers to be a photo assistant, to be a photographer, I guess, was kind of, I didn't really never wanted to be a photographer, but I just wanted to be in that world doing something, and relentlessly sent my CV and emails and letters and visiting lots of different photographers, but Rankin was the one that I finally broke and let me in.
Oh yeah, Rankin. So he's a really well-known photographer, isn't he? So that was quite an achievement.
Yes, he is. He's quite big in sort of fashion editorial sort of world, which is good. And I think that's why it was very difficult to get in. He's got he's a very successful photographer. And it was a weird experience. I've sort of left it because I went to uni in Essex. That's where I'm from Southend. And he's based in London. And I just quit my job and quit everything and moved up to London. Never really been to London for like day trips and stuff like that, but never really lived or spent too much time in London, and just gave up everything, went up there, rented a little sort of flat share with a load of random people I didn't know, and just kind of chucked myself into it. And I think that was probably the best thing I did for it all working out, because I literally had nothing else to do other than work for him and be there. My social life, everything else was kind of gone. So I was able to just completely immerse myself in that world and sort of live and breathe that. And it was brilliant. It was good fun.
Yeah. And how long did you do that for?
So, it took me about 6 months or so to actually get in. And that's like every other week, every once a week, more emailing, calling, chasing, being ignored, coming back. So that was a long time to even get in the door. And I think I ended up working for him for just over 5 years. Started off as
Wow.
an intern, unpaid intern for 3 months, worked my way up, and then ended up running his set design department, which was really cool, really, really good. We had a really good time with him. Traveled the world, worked for all sorts of things and all sorts of big clients, big jobs. Got to see some amazing locations and studios and nice people. It was really a really good time. Very tough, but it was a really good time.
Yeah, no, it sounds it. And
Yeah,
then what made you then decide? Eventually, you started your own company, haven't you? You've got your own studio now.
I
So
do.
how did
Yes.
that come about?
I think, well, it was fun. I mean, 5 years of working for him, things just, they run their course, don't they, I guess? And it was just like, I just had an itch I didn't have a proper workshop there. I was literally working out of an old gas meter cupboard and a little courtyard. I was like sort of converted it, built a little workbench and just started there, started small. And the jobs got bigger and bigger. And, we got more and more equipment. And I just kind of, I just wanted my own space, my own, so I could do what I like. Because I'm obviously still interested in classic cars and making and building and doing stuff. And although the set design was ticking lots of boxes, it's never quite the same as having your own place and being able to do whatever you want. So it was a very daunting time, quitting working for Rankin, signing a commercial lease to a warehouse out in Hackney Wick, and sort of taking that leap and going for it. But I'm glad I haven't looked back.
Yeah, and at that point, was your intention to do the prop making and set design and installation that you're sort of still do
Yeah,
now?
so yeah, I mean, because I was kind of Rankin's set designer, I guess you could say. So it's like that path had started to sort of be led for me, with contacts and skill set and things like that. So I did start it. The company is like Dom's Set Design, but I found that, I mean, the workshop I took on, it was a completely derelict workshop. I had nothing. There was no power, no drains. It was the only one I could find that I could afford. Was so derelict, it was ridiculous. And I did everything in there. And I was like, whilst I was kitting out the workshop and setting everything up, I have woodworking, machinery, metalworking, fabricating, painting area, all of this stuff. It's like, you know what? I've got all this area set up just how I like it for all of this stuff. I don't just have to do prop making and set design. Someone would approach me and be like, oh, we want this. I don't know what it would be, a chandelier, or some artist would want a plinth or a structure making for what they're working on. So, and it turned into kind of fabrication and making and designing and building, because I had the workshop there and it was all there. So it's like, you know what, why not? So
Yeah.
set design is kind of a broad description, I guess, of what I do. We did all sorts of stuff we did there. It was good.
Speaking of the chandelier, is that the one that is on your website that you made for Billingsgate Market, which
That's
is
it.
it's stunning?
Have you seen it? Yeah. It's
Yeah,
cool, isn't it? Yeah.
it's amazing. Do you sort of collaborate with clients, or do you come up with the idea, or how does that work?
It's very job by job, very specific. Sometimes I will get, if it's a corporate client, I will get a very strict drawings, plans, renderings of, we literally need that to fit in that gap there, and that's what we want, and just make that. And then the debate becomes money and if they can afford it or not.
Yeah,
But I kind of prefer, in a way, sometimes where we literally I just get a scrap of paper with something doodled on it. It's like, I want to do something like this, but I want it to flap open there and something shoot out of there or something like that. And it literally can be as some of the conversations I've had could literally be as random as that. Like, I don't know, all sorts of obscure things. And it's like, yeah, we can sort that out. We'll work one way or another. We'll work it out. So
yeah,
it's very hard. It becomes very hard to price jobs like that, because how do you put a price on that? Like, it's a one-off bespoke thing. I don't really know how I'm going to make it yet, because there's obviously going to be problems along the way that I'm going to have to solve, and so it becomes very difficult. And I'm probably not the best businessman in that sense, because I kind of get sucked in by the romance of kind of, I just enjoy doing it. I just want to do it. I want to see that
yeah,
drawing come to, and that day would come, when that day comes and we're installing it and it's on the back of a truck and we're taking it down to South Bank to build this big massive thing. It's like,
yeah.
that's cool. That's worth more than getting a few $100 extra on the invoice, like that. It's kind of, so
Yeah,
financially, I'm probably
have you
not.
found yeah, well, I know what you mean, I'm a
Yeah.
bit like that. But have you found that as time's gone on, though, you found it easy, you'll kind of know potentially like how long something's going to take and, potential cost and stuff like that?
A little bit, yes. I mean, I guess I've made mistakes, learned the hard way. Jobs have cost me a fortune sometimes. It's like, I can't do that again. I've got to. But then the jobs are so varied and so different. I never know. It's very hard. Like that chandelier in particular was kind of like, at the start, it was all made of aluminium because we were going to anodize it in the gold. It was going to be anodized. And so I, quoted for that, got prices, quoted. It was like, yeah, fine. Got to the last minute. Test piece was anodized, and it came out completely the wrong color because of the grade of aluminium. Didn't like something to do with the anodized. It was like, oh my God, we've already made it all. So then we powder coated it. So then that's another cost. It was like, oh no. So things happen, that you can't really plan for. But I think that's what I quite like about it. It's that problem solving. It's like working, keeping you on your toes, working out, how am I going to solve this? What's going to come up? Trying to plan so it all goes smoothly, but things go wrong, don't they? All the time.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and
just
like
being able to solve those problems is
just a learning process, isn't it? Every time.
Yeah.
So it's the car restoration work. Has that kind of been the basis of some of your knowledge with working with metal?
That has always just been a love of mine, a hobby, I guess. It's always been, me and my dad when I was a kid on the driveway, which was gravel, which was awful for working on cars. You drop a nut and a bolt on the gravel, it's like, oh no, that's gone now. I've lost that.
It's another learning experience there.
Yeah, don't have a gravel driveway if you like cars. Or have a nice workshop to put it in. But I think it's always been out of necessity because I'm sort of not very well off and had old Volkswagens and camper vans and things like that needed welding, and I was always modifying them, trying to lower them, like trying to work out outlet of Mark 1 Golf that sort of raised the engine and lowered all the back end and stuff like that. And I just wanted to do it, and stuff wasn't available to buy, or I couldn't afford it. So I was like, I'll just do it myself. I got a welder. I'll just make my own bracket, and it was really out of necessity for having old bangers when I was growing up. Really, and I just that enjoyment, and it's kind of spiraled out of control now, and I've still now got old classic cars and mess around with old motorbikes and things like that. But it's always just sort of been a hobby or than a job, which is quite nice.
Yeah. And you've got a Vespa too, haven't you?
That's what I'm doing at the moment. That was my little lockdown project. When filming at the repair shop got stopped, I was like, oh no, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? All my tools in here. So I crammed as many tools as I could in my van and drove back. Was like cruising around on eBay like you do, just like, oh, I wonder. And then that popped up. I was like, you know what, I could get that. And I kind of got that. I've been filming the whole process on my Instagram stories, which is a learning curve for me, something else I'm trying to sort of expand and start filming things with the hope for maybe a YouTube channel later in the future, but you never know, to practice to see how it goes.
Oh, that sounds good. Yeah. Great. Excellent.
Yeah, it's gone down so well from the Instagram. I haven't got tons of followers, but the people that really love, they seem to really like watching it. It's all gone down really nice, really well. It's all positive comments. So
yeah, it's a really good. It's a good start. Instagram stories, isn't it? Like you say, to kind of just the process of filming something. So I think a lot of people are finding that. So you're building props and sets is sort of part of the story to how you became an expert on the repair shop. How did that happen?
There is, yes. Again, in a roundabout way that you could never guess. Which is, you could never. You get, when you get these emails in your inbox, it's like, oh, is that junk or not? It was kind of like someone just emailed and kind of. I think they'd seen. They Ricochet, the production company, were obviously sort of putting feelers out, looking around for people that were planning it. They got in touch with me. I think I had a video on YouTube that I did before years ago with Top Man. Was kind of an upcycling project that we did. They saw that, got in touch with me, came to my workshop to interview me, to sort of like cast me, I guess, for the show to see how I am. And I think they sort of fell in love with the inside of my workshop, because by that point it was full of old props and lots of light up signs and painted things, and bits of, zebras' heads hanging off the walls and all sorts of stuff. And they were like, oh, this is brilliant. And so I think, obviously they liked me, but they liked all the aesthetics of the workshop and all the signs and stuff like that. And then when it actually came around to it, 6 months went by, they went completely quiet. All of a sudden, I just got a call being like, you remember you mentioned that sign? So can you make us a sign? So I was like, yeah, okay. So I designed the sign, went through that process with them of what it's going to look like, and designed and built the sign for them, the one that's hanging outside the barn. And that was Yeah, so I was down on
The infamous sign, that.
the info would now become, yeah, it's a bit like the Coca-Cola thing, isn't it? The guy that designed it didn't actually get any money for it. It's kind of now it's becoming, it's on the front of their books and on the front of the barn, and I've just made another one for them to put up the shop, like a photo opportunity Instagram sign. And it's like, yeah, oh, if only I knew when I was first designing that thing. But yeah, another mistake on an invoice for me. But yeah,
Yeah.
but that basically got me here. And sorry, I veered off again. And then
No, you carry on.
now I mean, we've been here for now 4 years, I think, filming. So that was from the start, and then they didn't have me on the first series at the start, but I think they started getting items in that they were like Steve. The clock was the first one that I did. He could fix a clock, but it was set in a metal drum. We couldn't get it out, like the town hall, clock that would stick outside the town hall.
Yeah.
And that was all rusty. And he was like, I can fix the clock, but I can't fix the metal. I can't even get it out. It was so rotten and stuck in there. So then a couple of things like that came in, and they were like, oh, you know what? Who did? I think it was, that guy that did the sign. Let's get him back. So and then it sort of, I did 3 or 4 items in the first series, and it's kind of got more and more and more. And for the last 2 years, I've been here full time.
Yeah.
And half the props inside the barn, the workbenches. The more you look around, when you see inside the barn, there's like sign written painted signs on the walls, and all the light up signs, all the stars, all that sort of stuff is sort of from me, stuff I've done. Yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah.
I didn't actually realise that, but it makes sense because of what you do that you made it. So
This is it. Yeah, keep it in house.
and and is the if I've read correctly, is the barn based in a museum?
It is, and it is an amazing museum. It honestly is beautiful. It's the Weald Downland Museum in Chichester. I'd never been here before, and it's a collection of buildings. I think there's about 80 odd of them. There's a lot, and they're all listed buildings that are kind of like fallen into disrepair on someone's land, and then they've donated to the museum or got in the way of like the M1 road expansion, and so then they're kind of part of the agreement is we'll not take the building down. They literally take the buildings down brick by brick, tile by tile, number them all, and plot them here and rebuild them. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Because the one thing I've sort of noticed, or one of the many things, is that you seem all of you, but you seem so knowledgeable about each project. You seem to really know your stuff. Like I was watching one episode, and you were explaining electrolysis when you were de-rusting something, and you say that you weren't good at science, but you clearly must be, really practical.
Maybe, as you know what, that's probably the good example of actually, maybe I wasn't totally awful at science, because it does. And when you're sitting, so I've had a science teacher email me actually being like, thank you so much for doing that episode that you're mentioning. She's like trying to tell the school kids when they're learning this stuff, it's like it is relevant in real world later on. And that's a classic case of it, because it's just like that. I did learn that in school, and it was just like, you know what? And I sort of knew it was, again, though, it's just from the classic car. This is where it's quite nice doing this as a job, because you can sort of pull information from different things like this. That kind of came from the classic car restoration. I'd used that before on old like car parts that I'd used, but then actually it becomes useful in a different way. And there's lots of different bits of knowledge come from various different, because obviously set design and making props doesn't naturally translate to restoring antiques, but in a roundabout day, like the process of it is very similar.
Yeah, well, I definitely feel like I learned something there, and I definitely wasn't good at science. But so you all seem like, have you all really bonded on the show, all of you experts? Because you all just seem to kind of work really well together, and everyone's so kind.
Yes, and you know what? I think there's sort of credit there for the whoever cast us all in the first place, because none of us had met beforehand. We didn't know each other. We spend a lot of time together, because I'm here full time. And it's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We all stay. Everyone comes from all over the place, so we all stay in a hotel, and we spend a lot of time with each other. And it's some stressful times, like restoring these old things and doing what we do here is stressful at times. Things don't always go to plan. You never know quite what you're going to come up against. And I think this is probably one of the only workshops I've ever been in where there's such a broad range of different skills that you would never think, like me working with Kirsten, who does ceramic restoration, I would never usually have anything to do with anyone like that. But actually, when we did the village sign, big metal sign with wooden bits in it, and then had a big ceramic sort of crest in the middle of it. So it's just actually all of a sudden, all of these skills and talents that you know, crafts that are around, they all come together in this barn, and it works somehow.
Yeah. So you never know what you're going to get when your visitors turn up.
We have an idea. Get told maybe we get a picture, but it's very vague. I never see it.
Right.
Never actually see it. So when that boot opens or they walk in, that door opens, I have genuinely never seen it, and that's the nerve-wracking thing.
I can't imagine. It must be
Yeah,
so nerve-wracking. And
it
I must
really
admit,
is.
yeah, I've a couple of times, I'm sure most people have, if they're honest, I've cried a couple of times watching
Oh,
it
bless
because
you.
the
So have
stories are
I.
so emotive and so lovely. And you always seem to manage to say the right thing and say it so kindly.
That's really nice to say. Thank you. That's really good. Yeah, I mean, that moment when we're standing at that table, and it's a tense, it's a terrifying time. Really, I get very, very anxious, and I have to sort of deal with that anxiety in my own sort of way, because it is a really anxious time of, like, there's people that you really get to learn how much the items, but how much it means to these people. Why they've kept hold of it for that 3-4 generations and that sort of stuff. And it is because I don't know any of that stuff. When they tell me, it genuinely is. It's just my reaction to it. It's like, oh my! If someone told you that stuff, it's like, wow, that's incredible. It's just, sometimes I don't know what to say, and I'm definitely not an actor. Like, I'm not pretending. It is just a genuine reaction to, like, the stuff is mind blowing. The item is mind blowing, and the story with it, that they've kept it for so long and saved their parents' lives and done, some amazing stories. And it
Yeah.
is just, I think it works because it is all just very real. It's very genuine. We don't know the
Yeah.
stuff that when they tell us these amazing stories, we are blown away by it. And then also the stress and the fix and the kind of complications along the way are all very real. All the work is done here. We do it all here, and it's all as you see it. So
Yeah.
and that's
And
why it works.
how do you sort of schedule it between you all? Because obviously with making programs, you have a process and also a time limit. So how do you kind of make it all happen?
That is, I guess that comes back to production. Them trying, I don't know how they do that. They sort out like I guess they have a schedule, or they have a rough plan where they try and be like, that's going to, once I've seen it, I could be like, okay, probably going to be 3 days maybe to fix it ish, maybe 4. But who knows? Once I take that lid off, who knows what's inside of it? It's kind of, so they have a rough idea of a schedule, but it's very
Mm.
organic. It's very, like, I know I was late for this chat today because something overran, because I couldn't undo something, and it took longer than I was expecting to take something off. So it's like,
Yeah.
things, and these things. That's what I really love about being here. These things, they just take as long as they take. You can't
Yeah.
rush it. You
Yeah.
really can't rush it. And it's just like, if it's, I've got the lid off of something, and it's, oh no, this is completely, all these gears inside of it's all broken. Didn't know that. Yeah, fine.
Have
Between us, we can fix it, and so be it. Yeah.
have you ever had anything come in and you've just thought, I just don't even know where to start with this. I don't know if I can do it all.
I still got to be careful now because I can't say too much. But yes, literally yesterday, I had probably the tensest scene I've ever had here, and I honestly was sleepless nights beforehand, panicking about it. It was, something was seized so badly. It was probably the worst, most seized up thing I've ever had to try and repair. And it was me and Jay, and we were there for about 3 hours, heating it up, banging it. It was a real, like, a whole big thing. And halfway through that, I was like, this isn't going to work. This is going to be the first, and that's the first time I've just been like, I can't do it. This is all I've got. This is, I haven't got a plan B. Well, this was plan E,
Mm.
and it still isn't work. So, but
You'll get there because you always do, don't you?
well,
So
this is it. This is where I've got to be careful. I can't tell you if we did it or not, but yes, I'm much calmer today. Let's just say that.
I'll say no more. I'll say no more. So you like to use old craftsmanship in your work, and obviously some of these crafts seem to sort of be dying out. But do you think the show has reignited artisan work? Like, has the general feedback been that people are sort of wanting to try these careers again?
Yeah, and I can 100% say it definitely has, from first-hand experience, because obviously we're by being in a museum, it's open for visitors. The barn isn't open, but the museum's open, so there's obviously people around, and hundreds of people come up to us all the time, and it's so nice. We get emails and sort of things from people saying, my grandkids like obviously the grandparents are watching it and their grandkids are sort of sitting tuning in. It's like, oh, you're their favourite, and like they're asking me where they can get a welder from. They want to learn welding, they want to do this, and all these crafts that the kids maybe didn't realise were even that you wouldn't think that's a job. I mean, I know I certainly didn't when I was doing the photography. Even at uni, I didn't know really that the job I'm doing now existed. And so to be able to, like show 6 million people every episode, all this stuff is out there, and these people are out there, and there's more and more courses and training and people willing to share these crafts that we're losing is for the better, and it's brilliant, and I think it's one of the great things about it.
So do you think it's best to learn as much as you can, like every aspect of your trade, so you're more open to every opportunity?
I think that regarding the metalwork side of things, I think I'm constantly learning. I go on quite a lot of courses because it's so broad. It's not just metalwork. There's different types of welding, different pattern, metal shaping and panel beating, and by expanding my skill set and my knowledge allows me to think in a different way about how I'm going to approach a repair, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like if I the more I know about how different approaches, different ways of doing things, I can kind of turn that backwards and be like, right, actually, it's because quite often it's all problem solving, and quite often there's 3 or 4 different ways to approach it. And Steve might have a completely different view to me because I know this other tool exists, or this other process, or we can do that, or if we heat this up and cool that down, maybe we can do that. And there's different ways, which is what I love. So it's brilliant. And I go on.
No, so I was going to say, do you think your career path is meant to be? Because you've obviously worked so hard, haven't you? I mean, you've given it some serious elbow grease with what you've been doing. So is it a bit of both, or do you think that this was sort of meant to be, you ending up doing the presenting?
Doing the presenting, I guess my job in the workshop, when I'm there on the weekends and doing my own thing in the workshop, that feels very natural. And I can, I love going to my workshop on a quiet Sunday. I could just spend all day there and just potter around, doing things, learning, practicing, playing with things, playing with my Vespa. Being on camera, definitely, definitely not so much. I never thought in a million years I would be the other side of the camera. I'm very familiar with being on film sets and photo shoots and things, but usually holding the set up behind the set, holding a wall up or a flat, or dangling a chandelier over something like that. I'm sort of the other side of the camera. I get backstage, so I'm still getting used to being on camera.
Because I genuinely thought when I first saw you on that you'd done other work, because you are very natural on camera, and it's not actually that easy having a camera in front of you while you're sort of chatting, is it?
No, it's not. I haven't done anything else like it at all, and we're not trained in acting or anything like that. I've never had any sort of training or anything like that. It was just in at the deep end, that's it. And it's not even just one camera. Sometimes, like the thing we did yesterday, that stressful thing, there are 5 cameras, I think, the sound man, a director and a producer, and there's a lot of people, and sitting chatting is one thing, but having to do the actual fixing as well as chat and talk to people and kind of, sometimes it does get, it's tough. It's exhausting, but it's good fun though.
Yeah, it looks amazing fun. It's like a top job, isn't it? So is there any sort of particular advice you'd give to someone who wanted to do a career like yours, or an artisan job that's, quite unusual? What would be a good starting point?
Yeah. People have asked me this. I think I honestly say to most people, like, just do it. Just go, just try it. Just go for it, because that's the best of what I've done. Like when I first, nobody taught me to weld. I just went when I think I was about 14, maybe. Just went to a boot sale. I sort of spent half my life in traipsing around boot sales, antiques fairs, and things. But I just went to a boot sale, bought a welder for £5, like a baby little sort of very basic one, and just was playing in the back garden, just practicing. And it's still now, different types of welding, much more elaborate and complicated, but it's just the same thing. Just you could be taught, you could go to school and learn all sorts of the science behind it and stuff like that, but you can't beat learning. I think learning on the job is the honestly such a good way to learn. You can't beat it. Make your own mistakes, really. You have to make the mistakes to learn.
Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with making some mistakes, is there?
Oh no, not at all. And that's something that I think you have to. It's a different way of thinking, because people become quite precious and say, oh, I don't want to do that, it might go wrong, oh, I don't want to stand, I don't, it might go, so, you know, obviously not on your cherished antique, I don't think practice on that, but on some scraps and other stuff like that, practice, things can go wrong, try different things. It's like, oh, what if I do it like that and that, or hold this that way, and what's going to happen if I do that on that? You know, you can read in a book that it doesn't work, but actually maybe there's another way you can do it and it might work. I think just trying things is, and likewise going on courses. I've just recently been on an English wheeling course, which an English wheel is a sort of very old cast iron big machine for very manual for shaping metal, compound curves, and like making old car, you know, like the cars of like the 30s where they're big sweeping wings and all that sort of
yeah,
that
beautiful
big,
cars.
beautiful shapes. Yeah, just, and that's again a craft that is dying out. Not many people do it. There's much more modern ways of doing it, but there's something about doing things the old way. And I've got myself an English wheel, and it was probably one of the most expensive tools that I've ever bought, and I had not a clue how to use it. I just bought it. I was like, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to have a go. I'm going to try. And I've spent hours and hours and hours just sitting there in front of it on the Sundays when I go to the workshop, just sitting there playing with this thing, getting frustrated at times, but just, I've got a pile of scrap sheet metal, like that didn't work. And I've been on this course and it's starting to click, but you've got to put the hours in. It's just practice. You can't beat it.
Yeah. I discussed a few weeks ago, I was talking to Horace Panter, and we were talking about, he was saying that he wasn't very academic at school, and you were saying that, you weren't, and actually I wasn't particularly. And so I think it's just really important that people don't worry too much, if they're not academic at school, because look what you've achieved, look what he's achieved, you just have to put the effort in, in your own creative way, don't you?
Yes, that's it. In your own, whichever way works for you, and everyone's different. Different approaches work for different people. But just find something that you love doing. You've got to be passionate about doing it, because you're going to be doing it. It's a lot of work. You have got to work for it. Nothing. I've not had anything kind of land on my plate like it's kind of nothing was set up for me. Everything's been hard work. It really has, setting up the workshop and now my new workshop, and everything is just putting the hours in and practicing and playing. And I really wouldn't let not being good at maths and science. There's lots of other ways you can go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We had a quick chat, didn't we, a few days ago? And I was interested just to hear about your other, you have a hobby, or if you call it a hobby, having beekeeping.
Yes.
Which is fascinating. And again, I was talking to my guest last week, Sally Coulthard, and I mentioned that I was talking to you this week, and she was like, oh, she's a big fan of yours.
Oh, really?
And she wrote a whole book about beekeeping, and it's quite an interesting topic, isn't it? Once you get into it.
Yeah, it really is. And I'm new to it. I got them sort of start of the year. They're doing okay, touch wood. They're all still in there. They're doing well. I haven't harvested anything off them yet. But again, I don't even really eat honey. I'm allergic to bee stings. So that's probably not the best thing to do. But it's something quite calming and an escape from the stresses of, whatever else is going on. You can just kind of learn about that, and it's fascinating having them there in the garden. You can just sit there on a chair and lose an hour just sitting there watching them come in and out, and you see them come in with the pollen on them and what they're all up to, and then when you open them up and have a look, and you can see it's very rewarding. It really is.
So it's another job where you're nurturing something, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, maybe there's something in that. Maybe there's something I'm not aware of. That's because it's for the garden as well. Because we recently moved out to Kent, and we've got lucky enough to have a decent garden. So that's a whole other thing that I'm really bad at, but trying to learn.
It takes time, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's we've been living here 10 years, and I'm still kind of working out how to do our garden.
That's it. You have to plan 3 years ahead of yourself. It's a lot. It's good fun, and again, it's rewarding. It's nice. Yeah.
So you've only got a few more minutes till you're back at work. So just quickly, what have you got coming up? Obviously, you can't tell us what you're doing on the show, but have you got any other projects coming up? Have you got time to do all of those at the moment?
I don't have. You know what? I don't have time. I'm here 5 days a week. And it's now we're back filming, and the new structure's working so well. It is flat out here. It's really, really busy. And when I get the weekends back at home, I try as much as I can to get and do. I want to get that Vespa finished, things like that. But There are things in the pipeline, I guess, very, very later down the line. I am looking to sort of pursue this TV career, I guess.
Great.
But I have no idea which way the road's going to turn, what's going to happen, or where it's going to go. I couldn't say at the moment, but definitely interested in exploring it.
Cool,
If that's
excellent.
enough
I'll
of
look
an
forward to
answer.
that. Yeah, brilliant. It
Yeah.
is. Thank you very much. I look forward to watching the show again soon.
Oh, bless you. Thank you so much. It's been lovely to speak to you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you. Dominic's website is dominicchinea.com, and you can see some of his amazing commissions on there that we spoke about. His Insta handle is @Dominic and hopefully the new series of The Repair Shop will be gracing our screen soon. I can't wait. I'll be back in a few weeks for series 2 of Live Your Own Way. I can't believe we're already 6 episodes in. It's amazing. I've loved it, and thank you so much for listening. Keep your ears open for the new ones, as it won't be long at all. In the meantime, if you'd like to see what I'm up to with my design work, then my website is Lucy Gleason Interiors, and that's lucylovesia.com. Until then, have a good one.